The Ghost of the North Sea in 1941. The war was a mechanical beast of iron and oil, but on the frozen, windswept coast of Norway, it was a battle of silence. Jan Balsrud, a young Norwegian resistance fighter, had been part of a sabotage mission that went catastrophically wrong. Their boat was ambushed by a German destroyer, and Jan was the only one to escape, diving into the sub-zero waters of the Arctic Circle. He climbed onto a jagged rock, his big toe shot off, his boots lost to the sea. He had one goal: to reach neutral Sweden. Between him and safety lay 80 miles of vertical mountains, blinding blizzards, and a Nazi manhunt that didn't believe in ghosts. "He can't survive that," the German commander noted, looking at the frozen peaks. "The frost will kill him before we do." But Jan was a creature of the north. He crawled through the snow, his clothes frozen stiff, like a suit of armor. At one point, he was caught in an avalanche that buried him for hours. When he dug himself out, he was snowblind and hallucinating, seeing his own shadow as a demon chasing him through the white void. He found refuge in a tiny mountain cabin, but his feet were turning black with gangrene. With nothing but a small pocket knife and a bottle of high-proof alcohol, Jan did the unthinkable. He sat alone in the dark and performed surgery on his own feet to stop the rot from reaching his heart. "I am still here," he whispered to the walls, his voice a dry rasp. "I am still a man." The local villagers, at great risk of execution, found him. They couldn't move him, the German patrols were everywhere. So they wrapped him in furs, placed him on a wooden sled, and pulled him up the steepest cliffs of the Lingen Alps. They hid him in a cave high above the tree line, leaving him with a week's worth of food and a whistle. For 27 days, Jan lay in that cave, buried under the snow to keep warm, listening to the wind howl like a wounded animal. He was a living corpse, waiting for a chance to move. Finally, the resistance organized a daring plan. They gathered a herd of reindeer and used the animals to create a chaotic stampede across the border. Under the cover of the dust and the thunder of thousands of hooves, they strapped Jan to a sled pulled by a reindeer and raced toward the Swedish line. German bullets zipped through the air, but the reindeer were faster. Jan crossed the border, his body broken and weighing barely 80 pounds, but his spirit was untouched. Jan Balsrud survived. He spent months in a hospital in Sweden, learning to walk again on feet that had paid the price for his freedom. He became a symbol for the Norwegian people, a reminder that the mountains didn't belong to the occupiers. They belonged to the people who were brave enough to endure them. When the war ended, Jan returned to the village that had saved him. He didn't want medals. He wanted to thank the farmers and the mountain men who had carried him through the sky. He had survived the Arctic, the Gestapo, and himself, proving that even in the coldest reaches of the world, the fire of a single human will is enough to melt the ice.